Okay, so I'm seeing a lot of tweets like this. Can someone point out to me where the 14th Amendment, Section 3, says you must be convicted of insurrection in order for it to apply? The only requirement is that you must have engaged in insurrection. Read the amendment. Here's the problem with that. And honestly, I'm actually pretty shocked that 4 out of the 7 justices in the Colorado Supreme Court apparently have a lot of. They didn't pay very much attention in civics. I'm afraid, because at the end of the day, that's not how this works. The 14th Amendment isn't what presides over that information. It's sort of like an addition to the main articles of the Constitution. And let me show you and explain what I mean. Okay, so right here, this is the Constitution of the United States. Right here, the Constitution of the United States in Article 1, Section 1. I'm sorry, Section 3. Apologize. The Senate of the United States shall be composed of 2 senators, right? That's the beginning of it. But if we scroll down towards the end of Section 3 of Article 1, it says very, very clearly and plainly in the language of the Constitution in the very first article, Section 3, right? Which the later amendments that came in, such as 14, they are reliant upon what is allowed in the first few articles of the Constitution. Like they have to fall under the rules of the original amendments, okay, in order to be classified as constitutional. So right here it says the Senate, nobody else, the Senate shall have the sole, that means only them, the sole power to try all impeachments. When sitting for that purpose, they shall be on oath or affirmation. When the President of the United States is tried, the Chief Justice shall preside, and no person shall be convicted without the concurrence of 2/3 of the members present. Okay? They have to be convicted with 2/3 of the Senate's vote, which Trump never was. He was tried, never convicted. Okay? Here's the second part of that part. Judgment in cases of impeachment shall not extend further than the removal from office and disqualification to hold and enjoy any office of honor, trust, or profit under the United States. But the party convicted shall nevertheless be liable and subject to indictment, trial, judgment, and punishment according to the law. Okay? So here's some things with that. The judgment in cases of impeachment shall not extend further than the removal from office and disqualification to hold and enjoy any office of honor. That is at the sole discretion, the sole power of the Senate. After they have tried an impeachment, okay, and then they have convicted on that impeachment, which Trump was never convicted. Even so, only after the person is convicted, but the party convicted, not the party tried, not the party indicted, right? It's the party convicted by the Senate who has the sole power to try impeachments. If they convict an impeachment, then right there, they shall be liable and subject to indictment, trial, judgment, and punishment according to the law. Here's the thing about that. According to the law, you could argue that means the state, but only after he has been convicted. Okay? And even this section right here doesn't imply in any way, shape, or form as stripping someone's ability to be able to hold office. Okay? That is at the sole power of the Senate. And after the Senate has, convicted in impeachment, right? Then they are subject to indictment, trial, judgment, and punishment according to the law, okay? So one could argue that every single one of these court cases is unconstitutional because he was never convicted. That's what I'm going to argue. I mean, it's right. It's literally right there in Article 1, Section 3. Which I think that's, people on the left really, I wish you would heed my warning right now, okay? Nobody's in power forever, all right? It's literally since the beginning of this country. It's like when people are sick of the left, they put somebody in the right in the highest position of power, right? The president. Or the highest position in one of the offices or one of the branches of government, which is the president, okay? Once people are sick of the right, they put somebody in the left. That's how we've always been, okay? So I'm sorry, I hate to say it, but we're real sick of everybody's sick of the left right now. Supposedly, I personally do not believe that election was fair in any regard. There was too many issues with it, too many just widespread anomalies and, irregularities that I personally am, appalled by the fact that people always make the argument that, oh, all the cases were dismissed. I mean, kind of. They can, if you want to put it like that, most of them were dismissed either due to laches, which is ridiculous, or it was dismissed based on standing. Because of lack of standing, which in legal terminology simply means that you weren't the one harmed, or you didn't have any stake in the case outcome, whether it be in favor or not in favor, which is ridiculous on its face to think that, because people, it wasn't Trump suing all over the place. It was people suing on behalf of, they thought something was seriously wrong with the election. Trump only brought forward a few cases. Most of the cases were brought by individuals or people in government where they thought something was shady, and it was dismissed due to lack of standing, which is ridiculous to suggest that that person who, either resides in that state or obviously the election, if it was fraudulent, affects everyone. It really doesn't matter where you reside in the United States, whether you resided in that state or whatever. But that's what lack of standing is. I think one case, only one that I can recall. There might be more, but I highly doubt that there is, because I went through a bunch of these and I didn't find any except for that one. Only one was dismissed for lack of standing and lack of merit, okay? I don't recall any other cases being dismissed for lack of merit of the evidence, so. And what it means by lack of standing, that means that the judge never even looked at the evidence. They just said, you don't really have a stake in this case, so I'm going to dismiss it. That's not hearing the evidence. That's not dismissing. It's sort of like how they were, everybody's been talking about the vaccines and stuff. You know what I mean? Well, it was, it had a 98% efficacy, but really when you look at it, that it wasn't like an overall efficacy. It was more like, 0.2% or something crazy. Anyway, it's a misrepresentation, and people have they're biting down on this and shaking it like a freaking pit bull. Okay, they're just they're holding on to it like Gollum, like my precious. All right, they were dismissed because they were all dismissed. 60 cases were dismissed. Why were they dismissed? When were they dismissed? Were they dismissed without hearing evidence, or were they dismissed after hearing evidence? If any honest person looks into that, they will realize that the majority of them were dismissed without even hearing the evidence, without even looking at or hearing the case at all. And once you realize that and you see that's exactly what happened, it leaves a lot less to the conviction that one should have that justice was served and the right person is sitting in office. Because if all these people had evidence, were dismissed for stupid, ridiculous reasons, and they were never allowed to even show their evidence, well then, how do you know whether they were right or they were wrong? And the fact that so many people did that, so many justices did that, that's why people were been pissed. That's why people on the right have been pissed. Is because we're like, hey, something shady happened in my state, et cetera, and I want this judge to look at it. Judge refused to look at it. Right? So then they go up to the Capitol and they're like, it wasn't to stop and force Donald Trump into the position that he's in, or was in my opinion supposed to be in. It was to simply stop counting so that way they could have a genuine audit on the election, because so many things were shady and none of the justices across the board, for the most part, would look at the evidence. That's why people were so upset, and that's why they wanted to stop the count, because they wanted them to do a genuine audit of the election. They wanted to be able to at least look at it, and they were denied that right. And that's why people were protesting that day. It wasn't so Donald Trump could just basically, kick Biden out on his ass and be like, I'm dictator of the world. That's not in any regard what anybody wanted. We just wanted an audit. We just wanted the justices to look at the cases, either one of those two. And everything was refused. So, people on the right have felt helpless. But here's the main point that I'm getting to. If people on the left are continuing to advocate for this obvious abuse and misuse of justice, you've got to understand that, guess what? Nobody stays in power forever, and it will be your turn. And I will be equally as upset if people on the left are abused by this, obvious weaponization of the justice system, as I am right now of Trump being abused and the right being abused by this weaponization of the justice system. It's not right. And trust me, it don't feel good. Nobody on the right is happy about this. And y'all, it's only a matter of time. It's not about if, it's about when the left ends up feeling the wrath that they had advocated for. And it's dumb. It's a dumb thing to do, to advocate for it. And everybody and their mama's dog, no matter what side of the aisle that you're on, should be standing up against this, because it's garbage. That being said, just like I said prior, the left, once people are sick of the left, they put somebody on the right up over there. Once people are sick of the right, they put somebody in on the left. Whenever that stops, and that's been the case since the beginning of the United States, okay? Whenever that stops, we don't have a country anymore. So y'all need to get it together and stop advocating for this, because it's only count this. You better start counting the seconds of your freedom before your own fat's in the fire. And it's a dumb position to have. Like, people like this right here, this person, whoever you are, he's dumb. He's a dumb person. This is dumb. The whole Constitution, the very first article of the third section, it's very clear who has the right to do what when it comes to the president being liable. Last point I want to make is that one really, I personally believe every single one of these legal cases against Trump, maybe minus the one with that crazy chick that wrote at the L or whatever that stupid girly magazine is that I freaking can't stand. Basically tells women to be sexual objects and fucking, but not rely on a man at the same time. It's like, be sex symbols, but don't like rely. Anyway, fashion and blah, blah, blah. The chick who used to write for them, I think she ended up getting fired. Oh, God, what was her name? Anyway, it doesn't matter. But the one who was like, he raped me. Well, I probably shouldn't have said that. Well, he, blanked me in a, what was it? A dressing room, back in the 80s or whatever. I don't even know when it was. Which, he didn't get convicted of that necessarily either. It got, basically, they said that, there was a sexual assault that they believe may have happened, but that he was, they couldn't prove rape, which honestly was ridiculous. It was a ridiculous case. I read the minutes on that, and it was ridiculous. Like that, no offense, but that bitch is crazy. I don't care what anybody says. Like, she got crazy eyes and all. And she's just like, I don't know. I think she just writes these like sexual fantasy novels. And she just got caught up in one. I don't personally believe that Trump did his own shopping. I don't think Trump would have done his own shopping in a department store. You know what I'm saying? Like every stupid wealthy person I've ever known, which I used to know quite a few. My dad worked in movies. Like they have personal shoppers. They don't fucking do their own shopping. Like very few of them do. The ones that do are just, it's like they're clad in like hats and hoodies and like they're like terrorist bombers and shit looking motherfuckers, because they don't want to be recognized, let alone just walk up to somebody who's there and who's like, here, let me take you to this dressing room. Like that never, you know what I mean? That doesn't happen. Like, I find that just really sus. Anyway, I'm going off on a whole other tangent. Other than that case where it was prior, the accusation was prior to him being president, anything that he did during his presidency, it falls under that immunity. There's a reason for presidential immunity. People are like, well, that's not fair. He, what are you saying, that he can just have blanket usurped power? No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is he has blanket usurped immunity unless the Senate convicts him and impeaches him, impeaches and convicts him. And then he doesn't have that blanket usurped immunity. But there's still a reason for that blanket usurped immunity prior to impeachment and conviction. It's because we have separation of powers. There's 3 branches of government, and one branch cannot have any more power than the other, and they all have checks and balances, right? Like that's like civics 101. Like that's like the basics. Like, come on, y'all. Come on. And these justices in Colorado don't know this shit. They don't, they can't, this is basic. Okay? Just like the president can, he can appoint, he appoints everybody in the cabinet, right? But at the same time, he can't just appoint them and that's it. They have to be approved by the Senate. Okay? They have to, in the House and whatever. It's like there's a separation of powers. He does not have more power in one regard versus they don't have another power in another regard against the president. It's like that for a reason. And the president, everybody, I don't know if you know this, is the executive branch. All of his officers, by the way, he is not an officer. He holds office. He's not an officer. An officer is people that he delegates to act under on his behalf, under his discretion, at his request, period. All to the benefit and the enjoyment of the president, which is the executive branch. Okay, every office that falls under the executive branch is 100% underneath him. He is the very tippy top of the tippy top. He is the executive branch, and he just holds the umbrella for all the little minions underneath him, right? So here's the deal with that. If you take that into consideration, it seems very, very odd that the United States Supreme Court hasn't stepped in by now and said, I'm pretty sure that these these trials are pretty unconstitutional because it's right there. Like he has immunity in every regard unless he is convicted on an impeachment by the Senate. It's very clear. So why haven't they stepped in? You really need to consider that, lefties, because every single time that these people are getting pissed, people are pissed off about all this bullshit. They're pissed off. The only thing that's happening is more people are getting galvanized to support Trump. Period. The end. People on the left, African American voters, all the people that the left has had, like the younger people, all the people that the left used to have hardcore in their back pocket, right? And guaranteed votes. More and more of them on a daily basis, as often as this keeps going, keeps running over to Trump. Because they're seeing this and they're going, this shit is not cool. And you should be doing the same thing. Because it's only a matter of time before your own fat's in the fire. And that's why people are doing it. So if you want a free and fair election, people on the left need to stand up and say something about this and be like, look, this crap needs to stop, dude. Because right now, you're pissing everybody that would normally be our voters. You're pissing them off. And you're hella pissing off people on the right. Okay? You were all but damning us to lose like the next freaking 3-4 elections because of how corrupt this looks. Okay? So if you want free and fair elections, y'all need to stand up against this obvious and blatant misuse and abuse of freaking the laws, the justice system. It's not rocket science. People like this are dumb. People like this guy are stupid. Like the fact that we're having this conversation right now is retarded. Like it's just, and yeah, I said it. Yeah, I use that word. Okay, I'm not talking about a person. Chill fuck out. All right. So, like, this is disgusting. And this guy right here. First of all, he's a DNC paid shill. Okay, I hate to tell y'all. He's a piece of shit lefty that's paid by the DNC to basically piss people on the right off. And I know I'm representing it right now and I'm showing it. I shouldn't be giving him any kind of kudos or talking points, which I'm not, by the way. But this dude's a paid actor, by the way. He's a paid actor. The algorithm, prior to Elon Musk purchasing it, the algorithm has purposefully promoted this person. He's a piece of human shit in life and as his persona. But people like this are stupid. Okay? And followed constitutional law. No, they did not. No, they did not. Because it's not, they have no right to try or remove him from office. Like, they have zero constitutional authority to do so. None. People like this are stupid. Okay, so, yeah. Amendment 14, Section 3, well, we're just going to disregard, the Article 1, Section 3. No, not going to happen. Not going to happen. Anyway, that's all I wanted to say. This video's already gone too long. But anyway, love y'all. Bye.